Today I decided to do something a little bit different, and instead of reviewing a movie or a game, I'm going to talk about an upcoming movie, and that would have to be Zach Cregger's Resident Evil. Now, if you don't know who Zach Cregger is, he basically is a filmmaker, but he's also a comedian, and I know him from the mid-2000s TV series, The Whitest Kids You Know. And if you haven't seen the show and you don't mind raunchy and absurd types of humor, I do recommend it. In more recent years, though, Zach has made some fairly successful horror films, which include Weapons as well as Barbarian. And while those are decent modern horror movies, I've only seen them once, and I wasn't really blown away by either, but I did think they were well made and well directed, and I do think that he's a pretty good filmmaker, which is kind of surprising to go from basically a comedic actor to a filmmaker. So all the congratulations to the guy. Having said that, though, I am a little bit worried about the upcoming film. And what I mean by that is apparently it's not going to be based on any specific game, and it's just going to be an original story within the Resident Evil universe. My problem with that is that's essentially what the Mila Jovovich films were, just unrelated stories that kind of crossed over with the game characters. Now, that's not really what Zach has said that he's going to do. He said his is going to actually be true to the games more so than the original films, but he also mentioned that he hadn't even seen the other films. Now, that's not necessarily a problem. I don't think there's ever been a very good Resident Evil movie to date. I do think the first film was fun for an early 2000s kind of cheese fest. And I do think some of the sequels also have that charm, but none of them are very good. And the Welcome to Raccoon City film, while more accurate to the games, was also a letdown that tried to mash two games into one movie, leaving out major plot points, and it felt like a watered down, fairly poorly made version of those first two games, where none of the characters really felt right, and was a big rush job. There was also a Netflix series, but I heard it was pretty terrible, and I've seen clips of it, but I had no urge to watch it. So as far as live action movies and TV series go, the series has had a pretty rough going, and this could be the chance to have a really solid and well-made Resident Evil film. My problem, though, is the fact that he says it's not really going to be based on any specific game. And I think fans, what they really want is a nice adaptation of one of those first three games, maybe even the fourth one at some point. And unfortunately, we've never really got that. We had six Mila Jovovich films, which were just cornball action fests that had some original characters in there, as well as some of the iconography, but are just loose adaptations at best. And then when it comes to Welcome to Raccoon City, they actually made more of an attempt to make it somewhat accurate to the game, but completely mishandled the characters and tried to smash two games into one, and it really didn't work. And what we got was something that, while may be more true to the games, just felt really haphazardly put together and nothing really special. What I'm basically saying at the end of the day is this. While I do think Zach will probably deliver the best made Resident Evil film, he has proven himself to be a very good director. And maybe even though it's not a direct story, it'll tie in very well and actually will please the fans, and we will feel that we're getting a proper Resident Evil experience, just maybe more like a side story with something along the lines of, say, Resident Evil Outbreak, which would make a pretty damn good movie, mind you. But there's also the chance that the film is basically just Resident Evil in name only, and we get a well-made, but what could essentially be an unrelated zombie movie that just has the Resident Evil name. And I really hope that's not the case. So at the end of the day, do I think Zach Cregger will make a good movie? I do think so. Do I think it'll be well made based on his track record? I also think so. However, there's also a good chance that this movie will be Resident Evil in name only, and I'm really hoping that's not the case. Just my thoughts on the upcoming movie. I really do want a proper adaptation of one of the first four games, and I was hoping that this could be it, and hopefully it does turn out to be a good movie, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed on whether or not it delivers what I would like to see in a Resident Evil film. Well, that's my video. I thought I would just kind of rant on this, but let me know what you think down below. Do you think that the going in the direction of just making a movie that takes place within the universe and is just adjacent to the events of the story is the way to go? Or are you like me and feel that they should just do a proper adaptation of one of the original games and treat the source material and characters with respect, which hasn't really been done in live action up to this point? I would just really love to see a movie that takes place either in the Spencer Mansion or within the Raccoon City Police Department, or just throughout the Raccoon City itself, much like Resident Evil 3. That's what I would like, but I don't know if we're really going to get that. And it seems like this is going to be just more of a side story, and hopefully it'll turn out good, but I am kind of cautiously optimistic. But that's just how I feel about it. Funnily enough, after I recorded my initial audio for this, the trailer for the new Resident Evil film actually dropped, and my opinions are pretty much the same. It just looks like a relatively well-made movie, which we know Zach Cregger was capable of doing in the world of Resident Evil. It has nothing to do with the plot of the main games. I get that Hollywood probably doesn't want to try to do one or two again, considering the fact that when they did that with Welcome to Raccoon City, it was pretty bad and didn't really make a lot of money. But having said that, that's really more the fault of the film being bad as opposed to the source material. And I just really wish that we would get a proper movie that follows the characters. The Jovovich films are, well, pretty much just about Alice, with the characters sprinkled in here and there, but don't really affect the plot too much. And Welcome to Raccoon City was an attempt at what we wanted, but a failed one and just not very good. This film I expect to probably be a good movie in terms of filmmaking, and I'm sure it'll bring the scares. I don't really think it'll necessarily be a bad movie, but it's pretty much Resident Evil in name only, at least from what I've seen. Maybe I'll be wrong and it actually will spark some sort of interesting story that does feel just like the games and fits into the world well, but it seems to just basically be a zombie mutation flick that carries the Resident Evil name and nothing much more. But I guess time will tell. I do thank you all for watching, and let me know what you think of the upcoming Resident Evil film by Zach Cregger. Do you think it's going to be good, or do you think they should do what I recommend and just make a game actually based on one of the first three, only more faithful and more well-made than the previous attempts? I thank you all for watching, and peace out.